This is how Big Pharma invested millions and millions of dollars to make sure people like me were able to open up these clinics and run them. I'm going to introduce Louis Fisher today. Louis Fisher was a DEA agent for the pharmaceutical department of the DEA. He retired. Big Pharma brought him in. They were hiring ex-DEA agents to come in to be consultants of their own and paying them very, very well. He's one of the ones that sold me on this and told me that everything was legit, just had to follow his rules. He knew how to do it right. He would come in, help hire the doctors, sit down when we hired the doctors. He would tell the doctors what the DEA expects out of them, what they look for, how to stay within the guidelines. This man was never prosecuted. He was brought up in all my court filings, everything else, played a big role. I'm talking about a big role in what the doctors, how they prescribed, what they did. And they all told the same story, that this guy would come in during the interview, and he would come in weekly, monthly, whenever he came into town, and he would monitor, look through their stuff, and talk about their practices and how they needed to do certain things, blah, blah, blah. I was never in the meetings. I would get a brief on it. But we hired this guy to consult. That's what he was, a consultant. We believed in him. He was an ex-DEA agent. We didn't think he was corrupt. Come to find out, he was very corrupt. He wasn't in our best interest, but I tell you one thing, he loved giving us that $15,000 bill. It seemed like every time he came, it got more expensive and was always over $10,000. Louis Fisher, you will see him in the documentary coming up. I know there's going to be a pretty big part on him, but just like Big Pharma, the distributions of pharmaceutical companies and him were all exempt. Everybody else went to prison besides the heads. He was well protected, knowing that he was being put in that position for what? To make sure that we were pushing the pills and our doctors were believing that they were doing everything right. So when it crumbled, they were all protected and they didn't care. Stay tuned for more.